The Spanish attempted to incorporate native labor forces by a process of interaction of the races known as mestizaje, or mixtures. That's why today you see all these wonderful black and brown expressions that make up the immigrant populations that arrived from Latin America today. And as I shared with you, there's the red beans, there's the white beans, there's the black beans, there's the yellow beans, and when you mix all of these together, you get down and you get the brown beans. Okay? So those are very important. All the brown beans from Latin America. They are part of the racial mixing that occurred since colonial times in the Caribbean, all the way and from Mexico down to Chile. But the British insistence on separation and removal led to a very racist characteristic that you can see spewing from the mouths of those who have a disdain for the immigrant today, and it goes all the way to the top. It goes all the way to this president. So let's go to a film clip from a PBS documentary entitled Africans in America, America's Journey Through Slavery. It chronicles indentured servitude in America, and it goes from white indentures to both white and black indentures. So let's appreciate that today's debate on the undocumented immigrant worker can be traced back to colonial times. Let's listen appreciatively to understand the current dilemma of the immigrants as they are treated as human cargo for the creation of wealth.
1619, a year before the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock, a mystery ship appeared out of a violent storm off the Virginia coast. No one recorded the ship's name, but somewhere on the high seas, she had robbed a Spanish vessel of a cargo of Africans. In search of supplies, she traded the Africans for food. They had been baptized and given Christian names. As Christians, they could not be enslaved for life under English law. Like most Europeans in the colony, they were purchased to work as servants for a limited number of years. The new arrival supplied much-needed labor for the tobacco crop that was making men rich. Settlers were planting tobacco in the streets of Jamestown, carving plantations out of the surrounding wilderness, and shipping some 60,000 pounds a year back to England.
Once tobacco is established as a viable commodity, then the more land you control, the bigger profits you can make. And in order to make those profits, you need more labor, and you look for that labor wherever you can find it.
Well, the colony builders initially intended to rely almost exclusively on white indentured servants as a labor force to cultivate the crops that were being grown in Virginia, principally tobacco. And in order to create these raw materials or goods, you often needed labor.
Here's a health to the company and one to my life.
The world the Africans entered was controlled by wealthy Englishmen and populated by the English poor, most under the age of 25. In return for passage to Virginia, they had traded 4 to 7 years of their labor. They were bound to a master by an indenture form, a contract that defined length of service and the conditions of servitude. Most were promised freedom dues after their service, a bushel of corn, a new suit of clothes, and 100 acres of land. Under Virginia's head right system, a planter was entitled to 50 acres of land for each servant brought into the colony.
The issue always was how long that indenture would be and under what conditions you would be forced to work. At its best, it was a short, friendly apprenticeship. At its worst, it was a long and exploitative situation in which you might die before you ever obtained your freedom.
By 1622, 3,000 new settlers drawn by the opportunities of the tobacco boom had arrived in Virginia. 2 years later, the first Negro child was born in the colony. He was named William Tucker. after a Virginia planter.
Okay, so when we get to the black bean experience, we will understand certain things with regards to the involuntary immigrant. But for right now, what we're attempting to do is appreciate the white and the black beans and the difference between indentured servitude and involuntary immigration. Voluntary immigration that came with a contract, indentured servitude, and then involuntary immigration, slavery. And as I shared with you, and what historians have noted, that most often African slavery replaced white indentured servitude when white indentured servants rebelled. When they rebelled, African slaves replaced them. So that is the 17th century.